Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Kevin Koym. We're the Venture Outfitter Weekly Call. Today is going to be a community call. Happy to have everyone here. It's going to be a little bit different than a lot of our calls, although those of you all that have been around in the Venture Outfitter community for a while actually know probably some of my favorite calls are the ones that are totally unscripted and where we're going to hear from a variety of different entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Part of what we're here to do is to talk through the Venture Outfitter. Part of the idea about this is to work with each other on building our companies as we're working back and forth. And so happy to have you guys all here. Thank you for joining today. Coming soon, next week, I'm going to be in Florence, Italy, and we'll be, there's a sister city relationship that is emerging between the two places. And part of what is going to be happening out of that in the sister city relationship is there's a lot of industry that wants to connect into this part of Austin or this part of the world, this part of Texas. Texas is absolutely exploding with activity. Economic activity of all sorts of different types. A lot of the investment that's coming from the CHIPS Act is being driven here. And so part of what we're doing is supporting other parts of the world and connecting in here. But the truth is, what's really emerging is not just a connection into Texas, but also connections that are happening through Texas and other places. We'll give some examples of that coming up. But I will be doing it from the ground in Florence. And then the 21st is the UN International Day of Peace. Really haven't decided how we want to best support this, but I think it's interesting to think through. And part of what I'd like to do is invite you to be a part of that. If you have specific additions that you'd like to add to that offering, please let us know. The main thing about it is, for those of you that know the work that I did, especially 20 years ago with entrepreneurs, the whole idea behind this was, how do we actually leverage entrepreneurship to drive peace in the world? You know, how do we solve these fundamental problems, human problems that with entrepreneurship, I'm convinced that it's definitely one of the forces for good. When we really use the tool of entrepreneurship and the tools of technology positively, and when we do it together, we can actually drive really interesting change. And so we'll talk about some of those examples, but there's a lot of space on during that day for it to not just be examples for me. If you have examples you'd like to share, please let me know. I know there's a number of different things that are happening, but TechRanch is going to be hosting the ATX Impact Community Happy Hour on October 5th, 5:30 to 7:30. And this is one of my favorite, very, very simple events. No requirement to spend any money. You can actually go there. We'll be hosting a lot of different people back and forth at the time. And if you're here, definitely make sure that you join us. This information will be available on the TechRanch events calendar, as almost everything that we do. In fact, for our members, we will publish your events as well, for our sponsors as well. If you're interested in and you have an event that supports this community, we'd like to list it. Main thing is making sure we get you involved and stuff like that. So, but take advantage of the ATX Impact Community Happy Hour. Happy to support this in conjunction with Swan Impact. Who is Swan Impact? Those are the Southwest Angel Network. And we've heard from the founder of the Southwestern Angel Network a couple different times in recent months here on this program. Happy to be working with him again. Bob Bridges is his name, and he's funded several of y'all's companies. So definitely a great place to be. It'll be a good environment. So today's about a community call. The whole idea about this is we're going to hear from a number of different entrepreneurs. I actually, I like to tap into the people that are in the audience. The main thing that I'd like to do is plug in and just see what's possible by hearing from you guys. And I know that there's a couple of people that I see in the studio audience that I hadn't gotten to talk to in a little bit of time. And so I'm going to put them on the spot as well. But today we have people from all over Texas. It looks like one gentleman from the Czech Republic, We have the country of Benin represented as well. And then we'll hear from a number of different people. What I'd like to do is, if you're ready to go, if I can see your video, I'm going to assume that means you're ready. So I'm just going to go around and invite different people on to talk. Let me just, one of the guys that I started a company called Smart Price with is online. Hey, K-Straw, his name is Kevin Strawbridge. K-Straw, why don't you join us real quick? I know you're always up to a variety of different things. I haven't gotten the latest updates. Tell us a little bit about your background, what you're up to, and did you launch the venture that you were talking to me about? What's up in your part of the world?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Kevin. So my background is started off in finance and accounting, shifted over to management consulting with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then sort of launched into what I call multi-channel commerce, but really digital and e-commerce. You referenced smartprice.com that we started back in 1999. That led to me then getting into working for jcpenney.com in the early years of that e-commerce growth. We grew that to, it was a little less than $1 billion for jcpenney.com when I left there. Then went on to work for several other multi-channel commerce companies, a technology company in Rackspace. I ran global e-commerce for Rackspace for a year, and then ended up as an e-commerce platform leading that company for a little while. Most recently, I've been mostly doing consulting and fractional CXO work. So I've been a CFO for a couple of companies, kind of a stand-in CFO, stand-in COO for a company up in Arkansas. I've done some CEO coaching to some CEOs that I know, just to help them to work through different problems and issues. And to that end, in parallel, as you referenced, Kevin, I do have a startup concept that I've been working on very, very slowly for a very, very long time. That is sort of the intersection of fintech and martech. It relates to gift cards and getting people to be able to unlock the value of their gift cards. One of the companies I worked with prior in my career was dealtaker.com, which is one of the leading deals and coupons websites in the United States. And the concept of my company, CardSpur, is to bring together unused gift cards and deals and coupons so that you can create more value for people to spend. Think of it as a sort of a pseudo stimulus, if you will. But the reason why it's slow and is I keep finding other little things to work on. So my funny thing I'll leave you with is I just built a gazebo and a deck in my backyard over the course of this hot Texas summer, and that was more engaging than the startup right now, only because I needed something physical and manual to do that really just made me feel like I was accomplishing something. So.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with that. The times on being a software engineer for so many years, after growing up and I put my first car together from junkyard parts. So I know what you mean about like wanting to do something with our hands. And a lot of times when technology startups are just lines of code and, bank accounts and stuff like that, can be kind of irritating comparatively to building something. K-Straw, you've been one of our mentors before. What type of and right now, just to be really clear for anyone that's listening in, because I know that we have a lot of people watching we have a lot more people that are watching the streams these days than anything else. I'm wondering, you've mentored a lot of different things. Maybe you have one takeaway that you'd like to share on in your background, especially like, by the way, K-Straw, a lot of times we keep my lines very straight, it's like, okay, keep on budget, all that sort of stuff. Give us a little bit of advice as a takeaway for what's happening.
Yeah, the one thing I like to talk to people a lot about, especially as I've been in the consulting world and have been helping companies with various and sundry problems, I always look at things from the standpoint of people, process, and technology. And it's amazing how many companies call me in and say, we need to implement this piece of technology and it's going to fix everything. And then I say, well, let's take a look at your processes and understand, what are you trying to solve with this technology? Maybe your processes have some issues with them. Ultimately, that leads to a big discussion around people. And it all starts with the right people in the right seats doing the right work. And if they are, the processes start to sort themselves out. And the technology solution that comes in is a true solution, because you're finding ways that you can effectively and efficiently utilize the processes you have to be able to continuously build and sustain your company over time. So if you get the right people, you get them in the right seats, doing the right things, they're properly defining and using processes, then you can refine those with technology. I would say that's probably the biggest learning I've had.
That's beautiful. Well, perfect. Well, we're going to continue to, well, K-Straw is one of our coaches as well as one of our mentors. Thank you for joining today. He's also one of my colleagues all the way back to 1999. So good to see you. Thank you.
So last century.
Yeah. Yeah. So last century, and yeah, people giving us a hard time. All right. Well, cool. Thank you for joining, K-Straw. Let's switch to Zachariah. Zachariah is one of our younger entrepreneurs. He built we originally met at Concordia University when we were launching a different, we helped, TechCrunch helped Concordia launch their incubator, and you've been doing a couple different things. What are you up to these days, Zachariah?
Hello. Yeah, definitely. So currently I'm working on a startup that's aiming to help content creators monetize their brand. So currently it's a nightmare for them because you have to have like 5 products just to run a business. So that's currently what I'm doing right now. And the idea is to have, versus like 5 products, you'll have it all on one page, a landing page that's turnkey to help them sell their products, collect leads, and schedule calls.
Cool. And tell us a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about your startup background, your experience, your scar tissue. What have you been up to like during this time? You had a couple of different stories last time we talked live.
Yeah, definitely. So I'd won a hackathon competition a while back to help veterans with PTSD, and I got won $3K to go to DC and share my idea with Veterans Affairs to lower the suicide rate of veterans. It was a fun project. I think I just focused on the tech a little bit too much because I really love tech. But I had to move on to that product. And then I had done another startup around the credit space. So I looked at all the competing products, created everything from the ground up. And then after that, I was doing some credit repair, small business, and I kind of did everything, try to connect a bunch of products, and it was a total nightmare for me. So that's how I came up with this idea. So
based on your experience, even though you might be earlier in your entrepreneurial career, what's your one takeaway that you'd like to share with different people out there?
What would I say? I mean, I just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. There's going to be speed bumps, yeah. Don't give up. It's better to fail trying to do something big than, do something mediocre, build somebody else's dream. So, yeah.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Well, and especially I admire, especially for your first venture out of the gate, really taking on something that, the really pressing issues. So keep on keeping on and let us know how we can support you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hey,
I want to go to Benin, which is a country in Africa. Rachel Romora, sorry, is on with us. Rachel, are you able to come off of mute right now and do a shout out?
Hi everyone, I'm here. I hope you're all good. I'm Rachel from Benin.
And here, I'm going to put a map of where that is, just for the don't necessarily. No, it's right next to our friends in Nigeria. Although, hey, quick question. I know that Nigeria and Ghana have like this big rivalry about who has the best jollof rice.
Jollof rice, right?
Yeah. Is Benin part of that whole
no, I think it's just the Nigerian and Ghanaian thing. Okay, you see, pretty much in Nigeria and Ghana actually surrounded by French countries. So pretty much they are the only English-speaking countries in that region. So you can understand the few then.
Perfect. Well, so what are you working on?
Oh, well, I currently working in my companies. I actually have 2 of those. I have a software consulting company in Benin, Sunsubit company and a software consulting company in Nigeria's sub-digital company. So what we do is actually to help businesses come up with technology adoption recommendations that can actually help them to better position themselves in their field. So one thing that is very common in Africa, obviously there have been a lot of the great businesses, but with the advent of Facebook and all other social media and internet platforms, you have all these businesses who want to either provide their services or their goods using the internet as a support. But usually the problem is when there is really no strategy to how a business adopt technology, they spend a lot of money buying a lot of things they would never need or something they would use for once, or they have a lot of complex systems that eventually do not integrate one to another. So what we've been doing in my company for the past 11 years, I would say, is actually to help companies from the startup to put up some sort of recommendation strategy in technology adoption. And obviously that recommendation come in different forms. It could be platforms that are existing that can actually make their work process easier that they can use, or something where we can build a standalone application just for their business. And one of the fantastic job we've done is actually working with banks in Nigeria and in Benin. Usually you have most of these banking institutions with a lot of applications, and sometimes when they need to do their statistics, they need information from various apps. So we've actually worked a lot in helping pretty much 2 banks to develop simple APIs that they can just use, so they don't have to be calling their vendors at each time when they need something different. And that is actually one of the things we do. We also help educational institutions also to pretty much factorize their most common information in formats that can be easy for them to use and also implement from. So we are all about helping businesses basically better use technology to the intent that it will actually really speed up their operation and help them make more money. So yeah, that's what we do.
That's beautiful. Well, so there first, when you stepped into Austin, you came to Austin, what was the program that you were a part of?
Oh yeah, I was part of the yearly Mandela Fellowship. That's this is the fellowship for young African leaders. We get to spend few weeks in the institution where we'll be affected too. So that means I was in the business school at Texas and the University of Texas at Austin, because I'm in the business track field in technology. And I also had the privilege to be, I think 100 of the 700 fellows who were selected to have professional development experience. So I spent another 4 weeks at Deloitte at DC doing enterprise management, obviously something I'm really passionate about, better to help companies still to strategically adopt solutions that best works for them.
That's beautiful. Well, so it was great to meet you and drag you out for a Texas barbecue and all that sort of stuff. Glad to see your business is doing well. And making it easy to access the data for those companies and for those banks, that makes a lot of sense about how that can lower the barrier to business success. Any words that you'd like to share about based on your experience, that recommendations to other people in the world?
Yes, basically my recommendation is always, I think, one with multiple sides, is no matter the business one is running today, even especially the agro businesses, there is always a need to be intentional about technology adoption. Because at the end of the day, for instance, today we have more than 20 million businesses in Africa who use technology every day to get across to their clients or make their businesses make clients aware of their businesses or potential clients as well. We also have more than 500 million internet users presently in Africa, obviously, and that comes in different form and shades. You have some people that are just on Facebook because they can use Facebook without possibly subscribing to a data. You can do that in some parts of Africa without necessarily having a data subscription. You can use Facebook. So you can have some people on Facebook because of that. You have some people on other application also based on that. So we really need to help companies to really determine which of this platform actually best suits them based on the kind of clients they want to have. So it is not a decision it's not like an aftertaste decision. It's something that has to be very, very intentional to help them to reach the specific clients. So on the continent today, yes, a lot of people are obviously aware of the potential of using the internet as a tool to reach more customer and reach more clients. We also have a lot of home delivery services, even back home in Africa. Just somebody setting up a WhatsApp application and using their status, just their WhatsApp status, they are able to sell their goods on a daily basis, even without having a Facebook page or having a website. But the point is, at some point, there is a need for scaling up such business, such that we can still stay within their financial means, while helping them to progressively get and engage their customers on a daily basis. So I think it's actually a promising thing in general for businesses in Africa, because now we have much more businesses that have the footprints and visibility they don't used to have. But however, a lot of people are not still aware of the importance of technology adoption, and that's something I am personally passionate about to always discuss when I'm talking with entrepreneurs.
Right, that's really important today. I kind of hear a common theme that's coming out from several of y'all today about being intentional about the technology that you're engaging, but then recognizing that technology, even if it's just a WhatsApp channel, can be used to enable a business. That's pretty powerful when we think about all the different phones that are in the world and how you could actually just enable commerce that simply. Thank you for being here, and excited to see how we can connect into your part of the world, Benin, and you know, and also at the same time stay out of the fight between the Ghanans and the Nigerians about the Jolly Ride.
Definitely, but you should know, Nigerian and Ghanaians love themselves so much. I mean, it's a sibling fight, like we call it. So if it's not the jollof rice, it's about who is last to leave the World Cup. If it's not that, it's about who was first to leave the Olympics. So there is always something.
Yeah, I know, totally. For those of y'all that don't know what that is Jolly Rice is it's a rice dish that is made with different types of meat, or I've had it with chicken and really spicy and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely love it. But we'll have to learn. I can't wait to actually I get to experience the local cuisine of Benin with you at some point in the future. Yeah,
You'll be my guest anytime.
sounds beautiful. Thank you. Cool. Well, we'll go to the Czech Republic now, and David Nichols from the Czech Republic. Actually, he's our Texan in the Czech Republic that's working with a variety of different people. In fact, you know, as I think about it, and I think about a little bit about David's software, if we might even get David and Rachel to compare some notes, just because they're working on complementary fields. But David, what are you up to these days?
Hi, thanks, Kevin. Really nice to talk to you and be on the program again. At the moment, we're working on a lot of kind of cool stuff, kind of two parallel streams. One is doing a lot of work to enable IoT, IT automation. You know, you hear a lot about, I don't know what it's called these days. In Europe, they call it Industry 4.0. I heard it was called Factory 2020 a long time ago in the States, but since we've blown past that, I don't know what it's called now in the USA. But anyway, it's like, you know, IoT scenarios and IT automation together. So like advanced end-to-end automation scenarios. So we're working with a partner that does building automation on a global scale, and we're helping them solve their IT integration challenges, you know, so they can access you know, customer information, maybe CRM information, stuff like that, while they're doing building automation stuff. So it's actually pretty cool. So like, you know, if there's some assets in a building, we can, you know, synchronize the Google Calendar status with whatever's physically happening in the building and other things like that. And the other thing is also making the software like even easier to use, like bringing in features of this sort of like consumer oriented integration stuff, because our platform is about IT automation and integration. If you've heard of platforms like Integromat and some other ones like that, there's basically they're really easy to use, and we're implementing that sort of functionality into our enterprise platform, which is going to be a cool, I think, set of features.
Wayne, so you mentioned the enterprise platform. I
Yep.
think one of the things, tell us about the open source platform that you have, just if there's a curiosity about even getting started with the tools that you guys have built.
Oh yeah, awesome. Thank you. I'd be happy to help anybody get started. Yeah, we do have a fully enterprise open source version of our software. So if you it does everything from like API management to very high volume process orchestration, connecting AI and data science solutions to enterprise data, things like that. We have a no code, low code architecture. You can use building blocks to build complex solutions without coding. So yeah, this open source version is there and waiting for you to use it for free.
That's it's beautiful. I know that the thing that's interesting is that a lot of times one of the things that I like to kind of plug into is, especially since my background is like building startups based on purely, the last startup I built, had 17 different open source platforms integrated all together, like, different levels of the stack and all that sort of stuff. But it's interesting. And a lot of times in the community, there can be some real power with working with each other. David just posted the URL to that in the chat, and we'll see that that's posted into some of the other areas and all that sort of stuff. But anything,
Thanks.
any final scar tissue you'd like to share with the community, or takeaways and things like that you'd like to share?
Well, I don't know, everybody's talking about AI, right? We're also like trying to enable we do enable AI to access data and drive process automation. It's really funny, I hear about ChatGPT all the time. We're also using it. I guess everybody's using it right now. I had a meeting with my CMO today and he was asking me some questions and I just pulled up ChatGPT and I asked the same question. I said, okay, there's my answer. I know it's not really scar tissue, but it's just a
Well,
funny
I know
anecdote.
it's a good point. It's a good point, right? I mean, it's kind of surprising the number of things that I've been using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I'm a little embarrassed to say because some of the stuff is like, it's so fast of, hey, I need to put together a deck that says the following thing. And, you have to know what the question is. You have to kind of know
Yes,
what the structure
prompt
is.
engineering.
But if
That's a real thing. It's not a joke.
Yeah, no, it's pretty impressive. And I think what we need to do is have like an all swim. What I mean by that is have, 4 or 5 of us come share some of the prompts that we put together and what we've done with that sort of stuff. That might be an interesting coming soon type of request. We'll tell Jello to put that on the list, because I think it'd be great. Because if you don't already have a strategy for ChatGPT, you should, even if you're just using the 3.5 version. I'm using the 4.0 version to do some research back and forth, but even just using the free version, it's pretty amazing what you can do.
It is.
So since I happen to have one of your slides set up, I know you have another, I don't want to call it a hobby, but I have this slide for Invest in Bravery. You want to say anything more about the project that you're working on?
Yeah, basically we're going to have another event on site in Kyiv to support Ukraine during the war. So if anybody's interested in joining us, we're looking for anybody that wants to support Ukraine. In this case, it's going to be all about startups. We're going to have the Ukrainian Venture Capital and Private Equity corporation there, and their CEO is going to support us. We're also partnering with Startup Disrupt, so they've done really amazing events in the CE region. They're based out of Prague, so we're expecting a really cool event on site in Kyiv. Of course, there's a war on, so it is not easy to get in there. There's no flights. There's just trains. So you can take a bus, but it doesn't make sense. Trains are the best way to get there. And if anybody's interested, please reach out to me. You can see my email address there. I can type it in again here. Invest in Bravery is the name of the charitable association that's supporting Ukraine. And the one we had in April was amazing. And the one we're going to have in October is going to be even better.
So for those of you all that are just hearing the audio on this, the email address is david@investinbravery.com. david@investinbravery.com. Thanks for what you're doing with that. That's pretty amazing kind of stuff. I think it's important to continue. And just like we were talking about last time, we actually just featured part of this in our newsletter, that it's important to recognize that the rule of law is what makes it possible for us to be entrepreneurs. And so I applaud David and his team for the support that they're giving to entrepreneurs in Ukraine, and we'll continue to make sure we raise that flag, because we shouldn't be naive about this idea. We shouldn't be naive about this idea that being entrepreneurs, it's built on a lot of other things. It's not just, you can't just be an entrepreneur and actually expect that things are going to happen. Let's see. You just got a question. I think this is on our LinkedIn stream. Elias says, do you have business cases in your website? Do you have business cases that you?
I think there's some case studies on there, if I recall correctly. Yeah, but basically we've done a lot in telco, supply chain automation. We have like tech partnerships with AI companies where we enable like telephony integrated natural language processing that does customer care automation to access data and drive process automation. I'm not sure if we have a case study for that one on the website, but yeah, there's information on there. Sure.
Perfect. And then, like I always do, I'm going to ask all the people who speak today to for the next week to kind of be able to follow up on the threads that come out on our community site. If you're not on a community site, you're welcome to join techranch.com/connect. There's a place to join the community site for free. And a lot of times we'll ask our speakers to post in there. That way they're not necessarily fielding lots and lots and lots of emails, but so that there's the question you might have actually gets followed up there. Y'all can contact each other directly. It's just I find that it's even more powerful. What I do say is, don't send me an email that says, hey, introduce me to David. No, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, go to the website and do it directly, because I'm already saturating Jello and Emma with all the stuff I'm getting to do. So let's make their lives easy and have y'all connect directly. Thanks, David, for all the work you do. Thanks for coming on to the program, and good luck with the Invest in Bravery program. I don't know if I'll be in there in October myself, but I'm definitely supportive of what y'all are up to. So
muchas gracias.
Con placer. Okay, well, so let's switch over. So we're going to connect with TechRanch's, or the community's resident poet, or poet in residence. Although I'm not sure what if she's going to tell us about what she's doing work-wise, or if she's going to tell us a poem. Christia, join us.
Hi, Kevin. I had thought I would just be a listener and viewer today, but I'm happy to dive in.
I'm always so inspired by what you do, so it reminds me to keep my artistic spirit going. So there will always be a space for that, because when we think about the most important business books that an entrepreneur can have, I'm convinced it's a book of poetry. Right? It's a book of poetry.
Yeah, I think one of the things that the arts and for me poetry does is it reminds us of shared experiences and different perspectives. It gives us the opportunity to stand back and see that other people have been there, considered the same issues and challenges, and provides a way to look at them differently.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, so what are you up to, and do you want to share a poem?
Sure, I would love to share a poem. So, well, I had the good fortune of spending some time in the Northeast this summer, and then also in Tuscany in Italy, in a beautiful villa where I got to go on a hot air balloon ride above the Tuscan hills. So it's been a profitable summer in that regard. But focus very much still on my branding work with entrepreneurs, the brand storytelling work that I do with entrepreneurs, and also the creativity coaching. So that's something that has been growing over this last year as something that I really realized was a wonderful way to bring my experience with entrepreneurship and writing and as a lifelong creative all together into one one's service. So and help people find step into their creative passions, either fully or as a complement to the other work that they do, or and to inform the other work that they do. In the interest of that, you know what, I thought I'd read two poems, if that's okay. They're both short, but I think they kind of go together in that idea of looking at things as shared perspective, understanding that people have been there before. And I think this is a good one that speaks to the challenges of the entrepreneurial experience. The title is Diffidence. It came back last week, that feeling, found a spot in the near reaches of my head, dropped an anchor to my heart and just waited. I must have felt the weight break the surface, hit the soft muscle. In my mind's eye, sensed the cloud raise up years of subtle thought, woke up too late to fend it off. Line already tangled with mine, gunnels bumping in the slack tide, in the absence of a fresh wind. Thought I had my place, had made my peace, thought I'd traveled far and labored long enough to earn my belonging. All week I've been tugging at the knots, searching for an edge sharp and clean enough so I can shove it off and find myself again.
Amen.
So as a follow-up to that, sort of an antidote almost to that struggle with diffidence and uncertainty that so many of us have, especially when we're engaged in new businesses. This one's called Reminder. If you leave room enough to become yourself, you might exceed your expectations. Make ample space to move, to dance, spread your arms, know the balance of your weight without regret or apology, and learn what it is to live as you find yourself just as you are.
I love your poetry. Absolutely love your poetry, because it's a reminder, right? I mean, that's what, well, that obviously is the name of the poem, but it's a reminder. Tell us, what is it that the writing of the poetry, how it complements what you're up to work-wise?
Yeah.
Say a little bit more about that.
Sure. I think partly it's about the kind of the practice, and I know we've spoken before about kind of the practice of writing and that sort of work. For me, keeping that practice as part of my week is something that allows me to sort of work through things that I've been thinking about that I don't necessarily even realize are on my mind. And by virtue of the fact that I'm a writer, it's my creative time to do something that is not in service to someone else, but wholly about something that I'm creating anew. Because, you know, as many of us do, our efforts are so often focused on someone outside of ourselves, not about sort of something that's an effort that's more supportive of our own spirit, as it were. So I think that allows me as almost a sense of I think I can approach my work with a freshness by virtue of sitting down and doing that, even though it might sound like it's more work or it's hard to get up earlier in the morning to make time for that. But it's actually restorative in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can even imagine, like, even at the most basic level of just shifting from one part of the brain to another part of the brain. And even if, like, for the hardened engineer that's just like, I don't want to do that, but you know, just shifting, I get that there would be like a something powerful in that for that as well.
For sure. Yeah, I think there's a complementarity, and it allows for more of exactly that to take place, for those sort of two sides of the mind to speak to each other. And I think it provides opportunity for more kind of mental innovation, new ideas, and without a doubt, I often find myself, walking I have those shower moments for sure, where just singular words or concepts, ideas come come to me, and then I try to remember them. I don't want to forget that. And often I'll find threads of those things making their way into other work that I do, some fresh concept that's arisen that had nothing to do with the work that I was doing, but then finds its way in. Doesn't seem related at first, but undoubtedly it then becomes related to that more productive work.
I hear what you're saying, like some fresh concept like ends up becoming the key to unlock something else, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Well, so what's your prescription for all the rest of us entrepreneurs that don't necessarily have that practice? Do you have a prescription that you'd send us on with?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we talked about previously was this idea of, structure being easier than discipline. And so that, we often think like, oh, I should do this. I should make time for this thing in my day. We can chastise ourselves for not doing something. In some ways, the easier thing to do is to simply carve out the time and put the structure into the day. To even if it really does begin with that, those 5 minutes of doing something. And if your process involves, one day, let's say, for example, that painting is the thing that you love to do, or would love to get back to. And if maybe one day it's taking 5 minutes before you sit down to have lunch and getting brushes, putting them out. And the next day it's finding paper or ordering that paper and having it delivered to you. And those incremental, just like in anything else, those incremental actions eventually prepare you to sit down for, now you've allowed yourself 15 minutes at the very beginning of the day. You've worked that structure into your day and you have that ready to go. And maybe you only paint for 5, 10, 15 minutes, but that is more than you were doing 2 weeks before. And that becomes a meaningful practice. It's one way to, when you make sure that when you give yourself that structure and that time, then you start to create that practice. And then it eventually becomes a non-negotiable because you understand what it means to you. And you know what it feels like to be without it, to live your days without it. And so you naturally cycle back to it.
It's interesting, that 5-minute prescription leading to something much more fundamental. And like you're saying earlier, some fresh concept being the key to unlock all this other activity and possibility. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I always love it when you show up. So thank you for joining us always. And thank you for your poetry.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for making the space for it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I tell you what, so we're now going to switch back to Africa. We're going to go to the country we were talking about a while ago, Dr. Emmanuel Bogo. I always I always mispronounce his last name. Hey, Emmanuel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Kevin.
How are you doing? What are you up to these days? Oh, let's see. You just went on to mute, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've been into a lot. Right now, this is my baby girl. Just had over 6 months ago. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So she's been really keeping me occupied with work, but I just took leave. But I'll be joining my team back in Lagos. So we've been on to a lot. Right now, we are scaling up into other states in Lagos. We're having a whole lot of partners right now. So it's my team have grown. More persons have been employed on the team on full-time basis. So it's a whole lot we've been doing, and now we're going even more beyond vaccinations. We're going into other infectious disease prevention tools like antiseptics, disinfectants, and all. So we're scaling up massively.
Congratulations.
Lastly, I know I've been helping a lot of babies prevent diseases via vaccines and hygiene care. So this was also an opportunity for me to also vaccinate my own baby and help her immune system actually prevent diseases. It was actually wonderful getting to immunize her.
That's beautiful. Well, congratulations on the expanding the business and everything. So you and we've over the years, like sometimes it would be late at night and I'd be like kind of having a rough moment and I would reach out to you, or you would do the same with me, like when we're just like, moving through some of the harder times during both of our businesses. Tell us, what's one of your takeaway points? What would you actually tell to entrepreneurs in the world, based on your experience that you want to share? What kind of insight would you like to share?
The thing I would love to share is it's more about the passion. The passion and the purpose is what I always put first, right? Because if there's one thing that keep me late up at night, is the purpose. I don't think there's any competitor for me because I always differentiate. But what I would say is the purpose is that most persons might do business because of maybe they want to get investments or they want to do that. So down the line, when it becomes really, really tough, it's easier to quit at that point. But when you know the reason, the purpose, why you are doing what you're doing, that would be a reason to keep on pushing, right? To keep on moving on, because you are solving that problem for a particular reason beyond the financial, right? There's a reward that comes with I help maybe save lives, or I'm helping solving a big problem in the community or in the society I find myself. So what I would just tell anybody is always know the reason you start whatever business venture you do, right? The best thing you can ever do is maybe solving a problem you feel, maybe you experienced it and you don't want others to experience that same problem. And you ensure it was maybe a really big problem that would cause a lot of damages to society. Once you can put that, it's a lifelong goal. That's the way I just see it. Find a purpose and create a meaningful a solution for the world. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for pursuing the purpose that you do. It's been an inspiration for me to remind myself as well to keep on driving forward. So, and yeah, congratulations on your daughter, and I'm so excited to see you, and keep on going, and look forward to hearing of more success for the thousands of people that especially mothers and babies that you've seen get immunized and taking care of them. So thank you for your purpose. Thank you for your heart.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thank you. Cool. Well, so we've heard from a variety of different places. It's kind of fun to actually get to go from Texas to Europe to Africa, a couple different countries in Africa with the people that in our community. There's I guess the most important thing that I get to see all the time that hopefully others of you today have gotten a chance to touch base with. Actually, right now we also have the Philippines represented with Jello, who works in our production area for that. So I guess we've almost gotten all the way around the world. No one from Australia today, but it's kind of late right now over there. Part of the thing that I actually want to just say is these simple connections we're talking about, on learning from each other, on, like as Emmanuel said, about knowing your purpose. As Christia said, you stay in contact with your heart and what's there. Same thing about what K-Straw and Rachel said about kind of knowing why you're doing what you're doing, or what is it that you're actually taking on. Those are the type of things that I think I learned from each one of you guys. And it's through that learning back and forth as a community around the world that I think that some really powerful things happen. The main thing that I want to make sure I just point to is, I'm about to hop on an airplane again. I'll be in Italy this next week. I'll be in Florence. We will do another program from there. It's going to be, it'll be a little bit different in that we're going to, I will quite literally be broadcasting right before the big signing that the Italian government and, for the activities that are going to be happening. So it'll be an interesting time, but we'll tell you more about that next week. What I want to make sure, if you hear this for the first time or you're not yet involved in the community and you want to be, you can see that we're already doing things I mean, the entrepreneurs around the world are, connecting and making a difference with each other. You can go to techranch.com/connect and plug into that. Part of the whole idea is it's free to get involved in the community. We have a few other programs that, we try to keep the cost very low for. If you're actually in the process of doing US market entry, we have a couple different programs, including the Venture Outfitter program, which is like a low cost type of way of getting involved. It includes group meetings on a monthly basis. That's $49 a month. For people that are in other parts of the world that like the cost of living might be different than what we have here in the States, we will make special arrangements for you, and please take advantage of that. You can also sign up. There's a bunch of different things to sign up for in techranch.com/connect. Our Venture Pioneer program, we have a number of different entrepreneurs that are working with us, or, they're mainly scale-up companies that are in the Pioneer program, from all across Europe and the Americas and Japan right now. So if you have more questions about that, please just let us know. You can go to techranch.com/connect, and there's a point of saying, hey, this is the place to on-ramp, and tell us a little bit more about what you're up to and what you're looking for. And for today, we're going to finish up just a little bit early. But, sometimes we take these a little bit late. Sometimes we'll get a little bit earlier. But the main takeaway for today is, what do you need? What do you want? Plug into our community, and because you're all doing important things in the world. And by being a community of entrepreneurs working together, we can really make a difference in the world. In final words, what I'll say is thank you for your time today. And let's keep on driving these concepts forward. If you need something, ask, get involved in the community. It's always my honor to be a part of a community of entrepreneurs that are driven by vision and values. Let's go change the world for the better together. Y'all take good care. Have a great day.